50 Cloud Pastel Accounting topic webinar. Today's topic is the top 5 runtime errors that we get within Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting. Guys, in order to make this easier, often people get a little confused when I talk about 50 Cloud. So I'm just going to refer to 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting as Pastel Accounting. This is Partner and Express. So guys, my name is Joanne Barnard. I will be your panelist. If you have any questions, please use the question icon. You can find it on the right-hand side of your screen. It's a little question mark in a speech bubble. So I'm now going to change my screen view and we are going to jump into our topic. So unfortunately, I can't always create all of these errors, but there are errors that often come through to support. And they come through a lot. Now, runtime errors is normally a very specific solution for them, but one of the errors that often comes through is a runtime error 5. Now, a runtime error 5 can come up in multiple places within the system. You can get a runtime error 5 when you are opening a company. So when you go file open, you may try to log in. The moment the open a company screen comes up, it may pop up. It may pop up when you double click to actually enter the password. Now guys, if this happens, there are two common things that have happened. Either the name of your company, the name in brackets, is more than 5 characters long, or it has a special, more than 8 characters, and it has a special character. So guys, what we're talking about and how this often happens is that when we make a backup or when we get a backup, and hopefully, no, I recently installed 19.3.4, but when we have a backup, our backup will look like this. So especially if we're using the latest version of Pastel, our 50 Cloud, you'll see that it has the date timestamp as well as the financial year and the version that you're using. But what a lot of people will do is what I'm doing now is called a manual restore. So I'm not going through the system, which in case you didn't know that, in Sage 50 Cloud or in Pastel Accounting, the latest version, you can actually create a company from a backup. Really useful, guys. It will avoid the issue that's happening right now. What a lot of people do is they'll navigate to the zip folder, especially people who have used Pastel for a long time. This is how we used to do the restore because we didn't have another way of doing it. And we'll go extract all and they will leave the name as it is and they'll go extract. And what this does is this will extract into a folder with that time and date stamp and all of that stuff in brackets, which it doesn't need to be there. The other thing is some people just unfortunately will change their folder name without realizing there shouldn't be spaces. It should only be 8 characters, that type of thing. But guys, this is very commonly what happens. So I just need to move my mouse there. And we will see this issue. Now you are going to get a runtime error 5. It doesn't always happen, but very often at some point this does happen. And it's because it's more than 8 characters. So the way to get around this is you rename and you remove all of those options. Obviously, I already have this company here, so I'd actually need to delete that first. But you would remove all of those options so that it's only 8 characters. I'll also see something like this where someone will give it the name and then they'll put a space and do the year. Guys, although technically this should be okay, you don't need a space in your folder name. So rather don't have that alphanumeric only, no spaces, no characters, nothing. So for example, that is also wrong. Like I'll see that, or it'll be with the star. I'm assuming that the star is there for some or other reason. But you'll see here, a file name can't contain any of the following. So we've put that in, guys. It can't have any of this, but it also can't have exclamation or hash or, so not everything comes up, but it is there. So please just bear that in mind. And also, if you have clients, just let your clients know. Say, hey, this is how Pastel works. Sometimes that's why. Now guys, sometimes you'll do this and it'll still give you that runtime error 5, or you'll check this and you still have the error. It's not going away. What that normally indicates is that if we go into custom, you have a registration folder. If you go into the registration, what's probably happened is that the company paths, so company.dat, company paths.dat, or even registration.dat has corrupted. So the information isn't reading properly. Now, you can do a very manual reset of this, whereby you actually delete the .dat, but guys, please be very careful when doing this. It's not a huge train smash if you mess this up. There is a way around this, but you don't want to delete the .reg files. The .dats are fine, but not the .reg. You will delete them, and then what you're going to do is you're going to copy the .reg. Guys, I see there's a question. I will go and check in a moment. Nancy, if it's sound, please let me know. And then with the company, you'll go rename. And what you're going to do is you're going to rename these to .dat. It will tell you that it's going to change the files' names. But that's basically what you can try to do. This could also sort out the problem. If you mess this up and you accidentally get rid of the .reg files, what you can do is just go into custom and delete the whole registration folder. Please bearing in mind that I've already renamed my Pastel folder here, so I will have to fix this later. But generally, if you do that, guys, you can then double click on your icon. So we can double click here, and what it would do is it would run a repair. So it will start here, but then it will look and go, oh, there isn't a reg folder, and it will just reload it. Because I was working in a folder that I'd already, because I have multiple versions of 19 on my machine, it's not going to do that. So I will have to fix that in a different way, but that should not be the case with you. But here you can see, because I removed some of those files, that it is telling me that I need to re-register. So you can register, it'll open up, and it should be fine. We'll double check that mine is still working in a moment. So guys, that is the one way to reset registration. Okay, so guys, very quickly before I go into if you're still getting the runtime error 5, we do know that Windows Defender is doing the Trojan virus thing on 19.3.4. They have advised us that's because there are both Windows updates and Bitdefender updates that need to be run. It is not a valid, it's a false positive. So please go and tell all of your customers who are on Windows 10 that they need to actually go and double check that Windows 10 is fully updated, as well as their Bitdefender. Apparently, if that is not done, you are going to get the problem. They need to do that, and then the issue is not happening. Please let us know. I also see Nancy has answered that. So guys, if we're still getting the error, so you've redone those files, you've tried to register, you're still getting the error, you are going to have to go into your reg edit. Now, again, this is not a place that you should go lightly. Reg edit is quite, this is your Windows registry. If you mess up your Windows registry, that can cause a major issue. Now, we want to go where the companies are. So probably what's happened is there was a company that had more than 8 characters, or something where the companies are saved, the company names has become corrupt. So you normally find that under HKey current user, you then are going to go to software, and from software, you're going to look for VB and VBA program settings. And then you should see your different versions of either Partner or Express. You're going to go into that specific folder, and you can then choose to the whole folder. Guys, this is not going to break your Pastel in any way. What you're basically doing is you're telling Windows, please forget the paths of these companies. Please forget their names because something's gone wrong. When I open my Pastel, I will go and either re-add and activate them if they're not showing, or if they are showing, it will rewrite those keys for you. So guys, if you come in and basically you are seeing, hold on, let me just, so if you had to open your Pastel and you see this, there are no companies. Firstly, you need to know, am I the server, am I a workstation? If you are the server, you're going to add companies. And you're going to come in and you're going to double check your companies and you're going to add your companies. If, however, you are a workstation, hopefully your companies will be listed and they will be showing with a red cross. You will then activate your companies by selecting the map drive and then double clicking on the corresponding company to make it a green tick. So that may happen. Hopefully this will fix the problem and you will be able open up your company. Now guys, I've shown you the very manual way of doing this. You can try to actually use the reset utility rather. So if we are here, you go into your company, into your root Pastel folder on the machine that has the issue. All machines technically should have it, but maybe it's only your machine. So no one else is getting the runtime error 5, only you're getting it when either opening Pastel or trying to access a company. You are going to look for the reset utility. When you run the reset utility, you're going to clear registration, clear registry, clear registration, and clear companies. So this is an automatic option of what I did by renaming the DAT files and going into your registry and deleting those files. Guys, if going into your reg edit and removing the company folders doesn't work, you may have to also remove the whole Pastel folder. So we removed it from our users. You may have to, and sorry, I forgot about that step. You may have to also go into HKey local machine, software. Here, if you're running a 64-bit machine, which I think at this point 90% of us are, you're going to go into WoW 6432 node. And from here, you should have Softline. You can also then delete these keys. So this holds your registration. This says, you know, what is true, what is false, what the path is, what the default server is. So you would also then delete this option. So you would delete these keys. You can also delete the whole Softline folder. It will rewrite it. So guys, please don't edit. Don't come here and go, oh, I'm going to edit things. You're going to just click on it and delete it. The same with your current users, software, VB and VBA program settings. You'll just delete the folder. That is the same as clearing the registry. So it should do the same thing here. Sometimes the reset doesn't fully do that, and you may have to go and do it manually. So my honest advice would be try the reset first. You've checked the folder names. It is 8 characters. It's alphanumeric, either only alpha, either only numeric, or a combination. There's no special characters, no spaces, nothing. If you've checked that, run the reset, try this. If this doesn't work, then you can delete the registration folder. Go into your registry, because obviously doing those things, there is an amount of risk. So that is runtime error 5. Guys, in 99% of cases, one of those solutions will work. If that does not work, the only option you have left is to uninstall your Pastel and reinstall your Pastel. Uninstall it, rename your folder to .old, and then reinstall Pastel and see if that works. In very, very rare situations, you will have to get hold of us and we will advise you accordingly. Okay, then guys, we also get a runtime error 5 when, so as I said, runtime error 5 can come up quite a lot in different places. And you may be processing your cache book and you're happily processing your cache book and suddenly you get a runtime error 5. Now, when you get a runtime error 5, this is normally because of your abbreviations. So guys, you will know that you can set up abbreviations. Sorry, I'm trying to get in there for your descriptions. Now, when the abbreviations get corrupted, you will get a runtime error 5. When you get a runtime error 5, the way that you get past this is firstly know what abbreviations you had because you're going to overwrite them. And what you're going to do is you're going to, again, navigate on the server to the Pastel or the Express folder, depending on what you have installed. You will then go into custom and you're going to go into language and you're going to look for accabbr.eng. You're going to copy this and you're going to then go and find the company folder. You're going to paste this into the company folder and you're going to look for the one that says .dat. You're going to delete the .dat. Now guys, this is going to reset your abbreviations. Obviously, if Pastel is open, please close Pastel. My apologies. I'm going to be closing and opening Pastel a lot. So you delete the file. You've only got an ENG. You're going to rename and you're going to call this .dat. And guys, all that's going to do is to set your abbreviations to factory settings. Guys, when someone's had a runtime error 5 on their cache book, I've not had this fail, but if this fails, it could be that the batch itself is corrupt. If the batch is corrupt, so you can't even get into your cache book or whatever the situation is, you can search for ACCBT and then put a star. What you're looking for is you're looking for like ACCBTN. And what it's going to do is it's going to look for anything called ACCBT. Normally it is ACCBTN dot, and it is a like 000 or 001. And what you can do is you can delete that file. However, it means that you will have to completely recapture the batch that disappears. So that is your other solution, but that's specifically in the cache book or with journals. So guys, that is when you get it in that specific scenario. If, however, you're getting runtime error 5 when you are trying to print documents or email, what we found in most cases is that that is because of the settings on your customers. Although you may have to only email, we're going to ask that you set it to print and email, and then you can change it when you are doing it. For some reason, and to my knowledge, I think that that is sorted on 19.3.4, but I do stand corrected if not. It does come out sometimes when you're trying to print or email. In this case, it's normally when you're only trying to email, and you will be trying to set that. And what's happened is on your customer or on your supplier, on your account setup, you've set that customer or that supplier to only email. So here it's on email documents only. We ask that you set this to print and email. So guys, that is step 1. Make sure that it's set to print and email. So if you're printing and it's giving you the runtime error 5, that is probably more a printer error. It's probably not so much the email option, but if you're trying to email and it's doing this, set it to print and email and then see if you're still getting the issue. If you're getting it when printing, guys, that is normally to do with your printer driver. So there could be a problem with the printer driver. You will need to go and check your control panel. In your control panel, you will need to go to printers and devices. And what we're going to ask you to do here is we're going to ask you, for example, to click on the default printer. My default printer isn't plugged in at the moment, so I'm just going to click this one. And we're going to ask you to check the printing preferences firstly. So make sure, for example, what is the paper size? Is it set to A4? If it's set to A4, is this set as your default printer? Is the name okay? If everything is set up correctly, so you are printing to A4 paper, you've checked everywhere where it mentions the paper size, and guys, remember, It differs. I think I can go into printing preferences here. I hope so. Awesome. Sometimes the page size will come up in more than one tab. So different printers, as you can see, show differently. It shows the options differently, so you may have to go through, because here you can see that on quick setup menu, it said A4, but also on page setup, it says A4. Now, if I have one of those set to letter, it may cause a runtime error 5, and I need to correct that. Also make sure that all of your options are correct. If that still is giving you the runtime error 5, we advise that you change printers. You try to, for example, say print to PDF in Pastel. So when you are printing, you'll actually change your printer itself. You can either do that by going to File, Printer Font Setup, and actually changing the printer here and going, okay, I'm not going to choose that one. I'm going to choose this one just for this moment. And you can, copy to all documents just to make sure, because normally this happens when you're doing customer or supplier documents. And you can try printing there and see, can it print to that printer? If it's printing to another printer, that means that your printer driver has corrupted. You're going to have to uninstall your printer and reinstall it. If you are here and that doesn't work, you can try just changing the options, get paper size directly from printer, and you can also just reset up your paper style assistant. Guys, just bear in mind that if, for example, you reset up your paper style assistant and you copy to all documents, copy to all tabs, and copy to all, it does not copy the paper style assistant to the user. So if it is happening on all users, it could be the paper style assistant, but then you're going to have to go into each user to tick that option. And also don't just necessarily change your printer and then be like, oh no, now I've got to go change it again for everyone. If printing to another printer, you're still getting the same issue, you can try just refreshing the different settings. But generally, 99% of the time, if you are getting a runtime error 5 when printing, the printer driver is corrupted. If you try another printer, it normally works. And you just have to reset your printer. So you have to uninstall and reinstall your printer. Sometimes, yes, you will get it on this print to PDF because all of your printer drivers, something's gone wrong. It may have been a Windows update. I've had it before where we've tried everything and I installed a dummy printer, so you're just using the printer driver, and then it worked, and we had to actually uninstall all of the printers and reinstall them. Guys, that is a very rare situation, but that is how you get past the runtime error 5 there. Then guys, if you get a runtime error 5 on your user file, that is a data fix in most cases because the user file has corrupted and we need to reset it. I don't think that I've missed any of the runtime error 5s, but as I said, it happens in a couple of places in the system. So depending what you're doing depends on the solution. So I don't think I've missed any. So those are all of the solutions for runtime error 5, which is very common that we get in Pastel. Then guys, another error that comes up a lot is runtime error 9, subscript out of range. And what that basically means, and it normally comes when you're trying to change something or update something, and what it means is that when it's trying to write that batch or that information into pervasive, something is wrong. There's a character or there's information or something has gone wrong in the system. Either there's missing information and it doesn't know what to do. It's trying to do it and it's not working. So this normally comes up when people are trying to update their cash book batches, their journal batches, their inventory batches, their customer and supplier documents. So guys, there are a couple of things that we advise that you try before you get hold of us and we maybe get the data in. And that is go to edit customer accounts if it happens to be customer documents, and please just scroll through. So use page down and scroll through all of your customers. Make sure that they all have a description. There are no missing customers, there's no missing descriptions, that your processing options are all correct, and that your terms are all correct. So there's nothing funny sitting anywhere that shouldn't be. You know, if you go to additional options, you haven't maybe accidentally filled in something that shouldn't be there, that has a special character in the user defined fields or something strange. So just check that quickly, check your terms, check your processing, but everything should be set correctly. So you can scroll through and check that there's nothing missing. The same applies for your suppliers. So if you're doing supplier documents, we ask that you do the same. Just check it. Make sure that all of your suppliers are here, that all of their descriptions are here. If you would prefer to go through to the search and just like search through the list and double check, you can. Make sure that there are no missing suppliers, but guys, as I said, generally doing the page down, if there is a missing description, it should come up with an error message. Sometimes it does jump past that. So you'll see one and it'll go missing description, you click OK and it moves. You have to literally be holding down a button in order to fill it in. If that won't work, then yes, it's a data fix. We will have to go into the back end and just add the description. But again, guys, just check on processing. Make sure that you haven't maybe entered a default contra account. I've had that before, where that was for some reason set up on one of the suppliers, so it was causing an issue. Make sure that all of this information is correct. Obviously, if you do need a default contra account and it's correct, it's fine. But just check that because that caused an issue, and just make sure that there aren't there's nothing funny. Then guys, again, the exact same for inventory. If you use inventory, you're gonna again, check everything, go through, scroll down, make sure that there's no missing descriptions, check your different options, are my prices right, that type of thing. I didn't maybe accidentally put in 10 comma 00. I actually did use my full stop. You know, I didn't do something weird. So those are just your master files, and you can do the same for GL if you're using GL. Sorry. So guys, basically what you're doing is you're refreshing your GL, you're checking it, you're making sure, okay, I haven't done something weird, it is set up correctly, it is okay. If you've checked that, you can choose to rebuild your master files, your ACMAS, your ACMAS-C, and your ACMAS-D, as well as your ACC, PRD, and PRDQ. So those are your master files. You can choose to rebuild those, as well as if it's documents. What we would do is, firstly, you would have a backup. So we're going to say I made a backup. Please do not rebuild something without making a backup. You make a backup, you close your Pastel. Guys, I'm using 18, so I don't have to close my Pastel, but I would have made a backup, close my Pastel, you select your company. You're then going to look for your master files. Guys, if you don't know where to go to find what the files are, you go to help, Pastel help. Damn it, I was hoping that I had this installed. If you don't have this installed, please download the history file or the help file, sorry. And I'll show you where to find that in a moment. But basically in the help, there is a file table, and you're going to go through that file table to find your master files. But as I said, it's ACMAS, so M-A-S for master. And basically, ACMAS is your general ledger master, ACMAS C and ACMAS D. So your creditors and your debtors. You then want your inventory master if you are using inventory, and that is ACC PRD, and you can use your PRDQ, which is your quantities. And then guys, if it is documents, you're looking for ACC H, ISTL and ST D. So, sorry, HISTH and HISTL, your history headers and your history lines. And you're going to rebuild them, because what you want to make sure is that, you know, nothing in Pastel has gone a little bit funny. I do see there's a question. I'll come back to it now. So guys, basically, you're just double checking that there's nothing weird. You're rebuilding the files, but a while back. Remember, I spoke about the difference between a pervasive rebuild and a Pastel rebuild. A Pastel rebuild creates a whole new table and it copies that information into the table. Whereas a pervasive rebuild tries to rebuild the actual table. It doesn't create a new table for you. So if you use the Pastel rebuild and you get errors like a critical error 2, you will have to restore a backup because it will have deleted all of that information. So guys, please remember the difference between the two rebuilds and the reason why we need that backup. If you get any errors, any critical errors, please just restore the backup. Alternatively, if you do get errors, you can also email us and go, hi, I did a rebuild, I got this error, do I need to restore? If you're unsure, there are some errors that you may get when rebuilding that don't require a restore. And that, I can't remember the exact error, but it's when it rebuilds one more file than you have. So it'll tell you 8 of 7. And then it will give you an error. You don't need to restore in that situation. It's just try to rebuild one more than what you have. But pretty much in every other situation, you do need to restore the backup if you are using the Pastel rebuild. Okay, guys, I've got a question. When you scroll down the page, does it only check that specific tab, main or process tab, or does it check all the tabs? It checks all the tabs. When you're scrolling down, you're actually checking for missing description. If you've entered any weird character somewhere, it's not going to look for that and it's not going to tell you. Basically, the scroll down just checks, okay, I've got this code. Is there a description to it? And what we're hoping is that if there's not a description, what it's going to do is it's going to flash out a warning and go missing description, and you can just fill in the description. Another way for you to check the information would actually be for you guys to use the export import function. So awesome question. Thank you so much. And guys, what you can do is you can export your customers, your suppliers, your inventory, your GL, and you can export it to CSV so that you can very quickly check the information and go, is there anything weird here? Do I need to change anything? You would also be able to see a missing description there because the description field is going to be blank. So you can also use your export to check that and then import it back in. Just remember that there are certain fields that don't always import. So what we have found is sometimes with inventory, when, for example, we have gotten a runtime error 9, and guys, if you've got 10,000 items, I do not expect you to do this, but sometimes the inventory group can kind of go a bit funny, and sometimes on an item you may have to select one, save, and then basically, and yes, let it write the actual transaction, but then basically move it back. It is very rare that this is what has happened and why you get that error. It's incredibly rare, which is why I'm like, no, if you've got 10,000 items, I don't expect you to go through all of them. But guys, that is something to bear in mind. So basically, when you're scrolling down, it doesn't matter what tab you're on. It's not actually necessarily going to go, you've got special characters, because as you all know, you can still enter special characters into Pastel and it's not going to warn you. And the reason it doesn't warn you is it's not Pastel that has the issue with the special characters, it's Excel. Excel doesn't like inverted comma or comma. They wrote Excel and inverted comma or comma means skip. That's what it means, skip the column. I don't know why they use something that is the universal symbol for inches, but they did. So guys, honestly, we tell you, please don't use special characters, because when you import from Excel, certain characters have been given certain functionality in Excel that cause the layout to be wrong, like inverted comma or double inverted comma. It means skip the column. So what it does is it moves everything up, and now the layout is incorrect for Pastel, because Pastel knows column A is this, column B is this. When we suddenly go skip column C, then it goes, hang on, something's wrong, because now I'm putting D and C and now everything's wrong and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So what the drill down is, or what the page down is actually just searching for missing descriptions, because 9 out of 10 times when you have a runtime error 9, it is either a problem with the history header, the history lines file, when you rebuild it works, or it is a problem with the missing description. Guys, obviously at times that is not the situation. There is actually something specifically wrong with the batch that you're updating. But if you do all of those checks, then that can help you. If it is a journal or if it is a cash book and you can export the batch, please export it. When we're talking about customer and supplier documents, obviously exporting and deleting the batch is not always an option. But with journals and cash books, you can easily export the batch, delete it, and re-import it. Often that can help because on the import, if it gives you an error, you can go, oh, it's this line. Let me go have a look. Oh dear, that's actually a main account and it should be a sub account I can't update or something like that. Yes, the error should not be a runtime error 9. It should be something else, but sometimes Pastel is not as smart as she should be and she spits out incorrect errors. So guys, on journals and cash books, that would be if you've done the check for the missing descriptions, you've checked for anything weird by exporting, and you don't see anything, then that would be your next thing on journals, cash books, and inventory batches. Export them, delete them, and re-import them. Hopefully, if you get errors, you can fix them. Sometimes when you do that, the batch file itself, the ACC, BTN, BSJ, those got confused, they got corrupted, and the deleting of it and re-importing it recreates that file. And you can then update without the errors. If, however, it's customer and supplier documents, guys, we do have a document or steps on what else you can check. But to my knowledge, we've checked everything that can be checked. And in this instance, you may need to give us a call and we may need to get the data to check it. Again, at the end of the session, I'm going to tell you how to know if something is computer-based, user-based, or if it is company-based. And I will ask you in all instances where you need to phone us that you run the checks that I'm going to tell you at the end so that you can actually tell us what's happening if you can't resolve your errors. So guys, we've done runtime error 5, we've done runtime error 9. Then guys, we have our pervasive errors, which I'm sure you all, oh no, those are status, sorry. For a second, I'm like, I skipped to status errors. So guys, then if we've done runtime error 5 and we've done runtime error 9, then we start getting the ones which are your funny ones. Look, the two highest ones that we get are runtime error 5, runtime error 9. Then we get runtime error 35602. Now that is a registration error, and that normally happens when you are using your system and you got it brand new and you've used it for a bit and you go, actually, I don't want my computer name to be whatever generic name they gave you. So they might have made you workstation 1 or whatever the PC was set up as. You don't want that as your PC name. Maybe you are expanding your network or you're changing your network and you're changing all of the PC names. What will happen is you will change your names. Okay, so guys, apparently the sound keeps dropping. I know that we have a number of people in. Guys, can you please tell me if the sound is dropping for everyone? So if the sound has kept cutting out, say yes. If the sound is not cutting out for you, please type no. So guys, I'm just giving you some time because apparently it's cutting out for a specific user, but I need to make sure it's not everyone. So yes, if it's cutting out, no, if it's not. Okay, guys, it seems to be cutting out quite a lot. I'm going to reset my side. Okay, guys, I've done as good a reset on my side as I can. Hopefully that'll be better. So I see some yeses, I see some no's. So I'm hoping this will be better. It's the most I can do from my side. Oh, so so sorry about that, guys. Just let me drink some water quick. I think I breathed in dust. I desperately need rain where we are. Sure. Sorry about that. So guys, with the 36502, what'll happen is, for whatever reason, your PC name is changed, but then you try to open the company, you get a 35602 followed by a 440 or a runtime error 91. And what that means is that basically Pastel doesn't know what computer name to use anymore, because when you open this company, it's looking for user 1, but now the computer is admin or Pastel server, and it goes, well, I can't find user 1. So what you would do in this instance is, again, you would close your Pastel and you would open your run screen and you would go into your reg edit. Now guys, could you use the reset utility and reset everything like with runtime error 5? You could try that, but in this instance, often what's happened is in HKey local machine software, and guys, if you're running 32, softline should be in this specific menu. If not, you will go to WoW 6432 node, and then you will go to softline. Guys, if you open one of these, and again, I couldn't create it because I don't have the rights to be allowed to rename my computer, but you will see here is the computer name. What you will find is you will open it, and there will be 2 computer names sitting there. So you will have the old name and the new name. All that you need to do is click on the old name and delete it. That's how you solve runtime error 36502. So that is that runtime error. Then guys, those are honestly the 3 main runtime errors that come up. I tried to find other ones, and there's like bits and pieces of ones that come up, like runtime error 91. But runtime error 91 is normally that you will have either a runtime or a status 440, and then it will say runtime error 91. Again, guys, that's normally to do with your registration. So it normally happens when you are either opening Pastel or, in most cases, point of sale. So what will happen is someone will open POS, and in POS, they won't have Pastel installed. And apparently at some point I uninstalled my point of sale, but cool. So guys, when you open point of sale, and this is totally fine, you do not need to have Pastel installed on every machine running point of sale. You can only install point of sale, but the point of sale will not see itself as registered. So it's normally a workstation where it happens. And what you will need to do is, again, you will need to run the reset, but you may not have that if you've only installed point of sale. So in this instance, either we might tell you, look, just install Pastel so that it's got the files, or go to your reg edit, and you're going to look for your softline and your Pastel folders that hold the registration. So guys, the ones under HKey local machine, this is where your registration is held. This is telling you, this is my server path, this is my server name. Then it gives you a whole lot of gobbledygook, which means other stuff, but this is basically your registration. Now, if you are getting the 440 and the runtime error 91, it means something has happened either on the server where there's a problem, or this workstation is having an issue. Either it doesn't have permissions to actually read and write this information, and that happens when you get a status 94 or a pervasive error 94. It's very similar to the 440 and the 91, where we actually have to come in and remove reg keys. But in this instance, we would advise that you remove the whole reg key as well as the one from current user, just to be safe. Because guys, it could be that it's the registration it has a problem with, but it could also be that it's actually not reading the company folder correctly. So remember, with HKey current user, you go HKey current user, software, VB and VBA program settings, and then you will see your partner directly here. And guys, remember I deleted mine. Now it is back. And you'll see that originally I had a huge list of companies. Now I've only got demo again because it's the only company I added. And guys, again, we delete this option here. In some circumstances, yes, uninstalling and reinstalling pervasive can help. But on top of that, with the runtime error 91 and 440, especially if you're on a workstation, guys, please make sure on the server that you have fully shared the Pastel folder. And guys, I've seen this happen, and I know it sounds very weird. I've seen where people have shared with specific people, and they've shared with specific people. So they've shared with, for example, Nancy Machaba. So I've shared with Nancy specifically, and I probably won't find her because I've got to do a whole long way of finding her. But guys, you know, you find the specific people in your network. So both me and Nancy would actually need to be on our VPN to see each other, but it'll look for all of that, and it will share specifically with her. And I've seen, and technically, yes, this should work fine, but I've seen where that's happened, and I've said, look, just to double check. And guys, this honestly does work, and I don't know why. I've tried to understand it and I don't, but you type in everyone and you give them read write and you go share, and suddenly it works. Although you shared with specific people or a specific group, for some reason it puts certain permission blocks on it. But when you say everyone can. And yes, I know I've had IT guys, but I don't want everyone to see the file and everything. But I'm like, guys, it is password protected. It's not like if someone can map to Pastel, they're going to suddenly be able to open Pastel and start processing as a supervisor. They won't. They'd have to install the package. They'd have to know what they're doing. And even then, the users have passwords. So it's not like someone can just break in and do stuff. So honestly, something weird that has worked a lot for me is just sharing the Pastel folder with everyone. Actually just typing in everyone and going, yes, read, write, awesome, done. That's worked. So then guys, the fifth one, I had a number that I could choose from. And I actually want to ask you guys, what runtime errors have you gotten? Because honestly, the four main ones are those. To find a fifth one was really hard for me. There are runtime errors that come up, but they're not as common. Our status errors, I could sit here all day because there are about 300 of them that come up. I mean, status errors, there are a lot of status errors. They come up very frequently, but the runtime errors, honestly, it's your runtime error 5s, your runtime error 9s, your runtime error 35602, which is very specific fix, and then your runtime error 91 or your 440. So guys, what runtime errors do you see often that you would actually like the solution to? So use the question icon, let me know. If no one comes up with anything, then I will just take one of the ones that I have and we can run through that. Sorry guys, I just want to show you where you can also look in case you're like, oh, off the top of my head, I can't think. And I'm sorry that I have to do it this way. I had my Genially or my infographic open for you, and guys, I seem to have closed it. I'm so sorry. Please give me a moment to open it for you, because we created a really, really cool Genially with all the runtime errors and the different errors in them. And I just need to get into it very quickly. And maybe if you look at those, you'll be able to tell me, well, Joe, that comes up quite a lot, because it was kind of a fairly even playing field. There are some that are less likely to come up. But I just wanted to open it for you for the last one, in case there's something specific that you're like, oh, that always comes up. I'd really like to know the solution to it. Okay, guys, so I've got runtime error 95, but it's not runtime error 95, it's status error. That's why I said statuses are easy. Runtime error 94, sorry, runtime error 94 doesn't come up. It's not runtime, it's status. A lot of people mix up runtime and status. Otherwise, I promise you, status 161, status 116, status 94, they are all on that list. It is called pervasive error 94 as well. And if you do want me to run through, I can. It is meant to be the next webinar though. So it's not this webinar. Status errors are in October. Okay, so guys, this is called our troubleshooting guide, whereby what we did is we created a whole list of runtime errors. Now, as you can see, there are a number of runtime errors that one can get. I specifically wanted to see if anyone would come up with the one that I can go through. So we do have runtime error 70 and 75, which is fairly common. We also have our runtime error 53s, and that's where I couldn't choose what to do as the fifth one, because both of those, while fairly common, it depends when you're getting them and what the errors are. We also have our runtime error 372, which is kind of on the same line as those. They also come up at specific times of the year, especially the runtime error 53. It's normally around year end where that seems to be quite a big thing. It hasn't come up much over the last year. So guys, as you can see, there's runtime error 62, runtime error 70, runtime error 340, 365, 372, runtime error 380 on point of sale, although that's very specific. So there are a number of runtime errors. Out of these, which ones do you find the most difficult? Is it runtime error 79? Thank you for that. I have not seen runtime error 79. Please, can I ask a huge favor? If you get a screenshot of that, can you please send that through to me? Because I actually don't know what runtime error that is. I'm going to give you my email address. So guys, sometimes in these instances, there are ones that we are not familiar with. They are so rare that we may not actually know the solution. But if we have a screenshot of the error, then we may be able to tell you, oh, okay, this is what it is. But in this instance, off the top of my head, I don't know what runtime error 79 is. Then guys, as you can see, runtime error 440, 429. Then you have your very uncommon ones that I have included here. You've got 3709 in point of sale, and then your -124 errors. The reason why I didn't include that in the top 5 is it depends on what the actual error is when you get a -214. So guys, please don't assume that all runtime error -214s are the same. They are not. It will open up with a specific error and it will tell you a bit about the error. Although it's a -214, the actual rest of the numbers will be different. And there are so many -214s that it's very difficult to compile. This specific one we could because it came up quite a bit. Okay, so with the runtime error 79, it came up on the year end. It may be a false error then. It might have read 79, but it should have been 70 or 75. So guys, that happens. And yeah, the solution is please run it locally, because you should never, ever, under any circumstances, run the year end over a network. Not necessarily on a workstation, but over a network, ever. there is never an excuse to run it over a network, ever. If you can't run it on a server, then copy it locally to the workstation and run it locally on the workstation. So guys, please do not misunderstand me when I say there's no excuse to run it over a network. I'm not saying server, I'm saying over a network. And the reason for that is the year end is running through every single file and every transaction in your company. Running that over a network, you are asking to get data corruption. So please always run a year end locally. And the reason that happens is when you run the year end, normally you'll say whether you want to create a new company or not. And at that point, and it's a good point to bomb out because it means there's already an issue with the network, but it means that the workstation can't tell the server to please create the company. So the server spits out, or the computer spits out an error because it can't create the company or it can't link to the company. So either the company isn't made, you go to the server, you can't see it on the server, or you go to the server and the company's there, but it didn't run the year end because it was in a read-only state. So guys, basically that error is telling you, hey, you're running this over a network and you probably shouldn't because I can't communicate effectively with the server. So please never run a year end over a network, always run it locally, either from the server, first prize, run it on the server. Second prize is copy it to a workstation, run it locally on the workstation, and then copy it back to the server. The only reason that's not first prize is because there are a couple more steps involved in doing that in terms of adding, activating companies, blah, 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 blah. And that I can run over during year end. So guys, that is probably why they got that. Normally it should be a runtime error 70 or 75, but I have seen Pastel spit out different numbers at times, whereby that's where we say the actual what it's telling you is important. So it could have been that. Then guys, I'm just, if I can give you a couple of tips on some of these, because obviously people are like, I don't know which one to pick. I don't know how. Guys, firstly, if you all want this link, I'm going to put it in the chat because this links to all of our knowledge-based solutions, step-by-step guides for you that are available that you can go and have a look at. If you disagree with the steps, guys, send me an email. Hey, Joe, I tried this, it didn't work. Or if you're one of our BPs and you're like, Joe, I think you missed a step, please let me know. I'm not the only one who wrote these articles, a number of us did, but if the articles are incorrect or the information is wrong, steps missing, or you've tried it and it didn't work, let us know because then we can update those articles, include what does work. So guys, let us know, but this specific infographic has solutions to all of the runtime errors, status errors, error codes, other errors I could find. There may be errors that are missing. You're welcome to let me know that too, and I will happily get those articles written. But then guys, I want to cover runtime error 53, but this happens in multiple places again, much like your runtime error 5, which is why I said it's not like runtime error 5, the volume that came out, because I went through our support incidents, came out a lot, and obviously not being year-end, runtime error 53 didn't come out as much. It was kind of at the bottom, and it was tied with a few things, which is why I opened it up to you, because I thought, well, let's see what you want to know. But guys, basically, it's either file not found. So what happens is you open a certain area of your company. So maybe you'll go to process, count inventory, and you'll try to do a snapshot, and suddenly you'll get a runtime error 53, file not found. What that means is that there's an image that it's trying to reference and it can't find that image. Normally in this instance, running a repair should work. This error is not as popular as it used to be. It was fairly popular, I think, in version 12 and version 14. But I haven't seen it as much in 17, 18, and 19. It does still come up now and again, and we've left it there just because there are still people using the older versions, but generally you need to run a repair. Then guys, if we talk about runtime error 53, WBTR32, that is when you've installed pervasive, but it hasn't installed properly. So the B-tree file is missing. This error normally comes up after a fresh installation or a new installation. And guys, this often occurs, or I found it often occurs, when people have downloaded Pervasive and either the download didn't download properly or they just never unzip the file. So they run it from a zipped file. They're like, great, I'll double click in this and I'll just run this file. Guys, if you don't unzip it, it's not going to install properly. It's zipped for a reason. It's to make the file smaller, but not all the files are readable. So please never install software that is zipped. You do need to extract the software. And once you've extracted the software, then you can install it. The other times that I've seen this happen, and it's not as common, but is again, if you install over the network. So for example, you will put Pervasive on the server, and guys, I myself have done this for ease of use. And it can on occasion cause this, but it's not common. So it's very uncommon to do this. But you install, for example, from, okay, I haven't connected to our VPN, so none of my drives will be available, I don't think. Yeah, hold on, this PC. So guys, for example, I have a releases folder here. It's not going to open, but I often will install my Pastel from this. And on occasion, especially with us working from home and stuff, it may not install 100% correctly because it's installing again over the network. Normally, it's not actually an issue. Normally, your PCs will work fine. It might just take a bit longer to install because it's over the network. But if that does happen and you know it's unzipped, you know it's on a network drive, and you're like, I don't understand why this keeps happening, and it downloaded perfectly fine, what you can do is just copy it off of the network location to the desktop locally and run it again and see if they're still getting the error. Hopefully they won't, and that'll resolve it. That has worked for me. But normally it's because it's zipped. In 9 out of 10 cases where I've personally assisted in resolving this issue, it has been a zipped folder. And basically I unzip the folder, I then run the installation, and it's fine. But generally, it's either it didn't download properly, it didn't install properly, and it could be because, or it didn't install properly, and it could be because it didn't download properly. So you may have to go and re-download the file, check what the file size is, check what the file size that you downloaded is, make sure that there's nothing weird happening. It could also be that your antivirus or your firewall is blocking certain parts of Pervasive from installing. It could be the UAC. So guys, you need to do all of those pre-checks. So those things that we tell you to do before you install. Make sure the UAC is off. Make sure that your firewall is actually allowing applications to install, or for the installation part, turn off your firewall, turn off your antivirus, run the installation, make sure that it works. Guys, if everything works and you then turn on your antivirus and your firewall, that means that something in your antivirus and firewall is blocking Pervasive or Pastel from running effectively. We have tips on ports you can open and applications you can add to the exceptions on your firewall and your antivirus. But if you do that and it's not working, then you need to speak to your IT because they need to figure out what's blocking it. We can just give you the suggestions that we've given you. And again, you can find that in the full steps on the KB. So for example, installing Pervasive in a multi-user environment. Guys, that article will tell you everything you need to know. There's also a video on installing Pervasive and adding the database to the firewall. You would need to add the exact same things to your antivirus. So that is for your Pervasive. And guys, I'm sorry I'm not running through everything, but obviously me uninstalling and reinstalling, like that's going to take us a really, really long time. So I'm just giving you solutions. If you are like, Joe, please can you show us? Please let me know if you want me to show you how to add the Pervasive ports and the database to my firewall. I'm happy to do so, but there is a video on that. I'm just very conscious of time. So guys, there's that. And then again, as I said, there is your runtime error 70. Again, it's not something that I've seen it's not as common as it used to be. That is permissions. And I'm talking about this one, 7075, it's normally permissions. And that's where I would advise, again, sharing and make sure it's with everyone. And normally that comes up in a domain setup where the IT on the Active Directory has possibly set up the users as power users, not admins, that type of thing. And you may need to speak to the IT about that specific permission. So we don't see this very often anymore, but it used to be quite something that we saw quite often on XP. In Windows 10, it doesn't come up as much. But if it does, it's normally in a domain environment, and you can follow the steps in it. It's all the steps that have ever worked whenever getting that error. So we'll show you how to share, what permissions you should set, the fact that the users should be admin users or belong to the admin group, that type of thing. Then guys, runtime error 372, this happens and you might not get the runtime error 372, but my BPs that, and guys, I'm just going through fairly common errors that I see come up and things I've done videos on. But with this error, you might not get the error, but you will know when you open your tax reporting and you go to view your tax reporting, but it only gives you the date. Sometimes the error you get is runtime error 372. You can also get the runtime error 372 when opening Pastel, but the solution is the same for all of them, because what the error is that the VS view or the VS print is missing. And the reason that the tax report looks like that is because I can't actually view the information. So what you have to do is you have to go into your Windows and you actually have to search on the C drive on the machine that is affected. So this is machine specific, and you're going to look for VS view, and you're going to look for VS print. Now guys, sorry guys, on the C drive. Now again, it might take some time to actually run, but you're going to look. Now you may not always find both files. You may only find one of the files, but it's normally that an issue has occurred with that file and in it viewing. So what you would need to do is you would just need to search for the file. They're normally Windows files. And what you do is you select them, you delete them, and then you run a repair on Pastel. So you will reinstall Pastel. You will click on your installation file. It will run through Pastel. When it asks you to modify, repair, or remove, normally, to my knowledge, it actually finds VS print, but again, guys, it can take some time. It's got to run through my whole C drive, and my C drive is really big. But you'll delete the file, and then basically you'll just go and actually run a repair. So guys, there's a correct way and a wrong way to run a repair. And let's see here. And basically, when you run a repair, the system will actually ask you, do you want to modify, repair, or remove? And you will select the option repair. You will run the repair, and it will replace that file for you. If you are running payroll, guys, you have to uninstall and reinstall payroll, or the same error is going to come up. Sorry about that. So please bear that in mind. So guys, here it's trying to run. My PC is not keeping up with me today. Because guys, I still also want to go through how you know if something is user specific, company specific, or system specific. So basically from here, it should come up, hopefully, and it should ask you this. Guys, this is what we mean by run a repair. You're just going to run a repair. And then it should fix it. But if you are running payroll, you have to uninstall and reinstall. That's for runtime error 372. So it's a very, very easy fix. Then guys, as I said, and as you saw there, a number of runtime errors. those are my top picks. Personally, I wanted to see what other people's were for 5, but you guys were unsure. So sorry if I sprang that on you. I just wanted to give you the opportunity. But guys, with regards to phoning us, so let's say you've tried these solutions, you've clicked on the links that I've sent to you. They are KB articles. We're trying to link the videos we've created for the KB articles to the videos so that if you prefer watching the videos, you can do so. But you've tried everything, it's not working, and you're like, okay, Joe said if nothing works, I have to get hold of Pastel, so you're going to email us. Something that really helps us is to know whether it is company, user, or system, because that then lets us know what to answer. Normally, guys, if it's user, you can just, create another user. But especially company and system specific, we know, do we need to log in using log me in and actually help you remotely? Or do we need to say, hey, send us the company, let's have a look, you continue processing, and once we have a solution, we'll let you know. And the way that you do that is, if you're getting a specific error, the first thing to check is it company specific? And the way that you do that is, hey, I'm getting this error when doing ABC. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go, and guys, everyone has a demo company. We give you a demo company. So you would be in your company. Open the demo company and do the exact same thing in the demo. Okay, for example, my bank manager doesn't want to open. It's giving me errors. Now, guys, most people would go, well, then bank manager is broken and you need to fix bank manager. Not necessarily. There are times where it is company specific. It's not actually bank manager itself that's broken. So you would come in and you would actually go, okay, in the demo, can I open bank manager? And if you can open bank manager in the demo, you now know, okay, this is definitely, it's not Pastel and it's not my system. So it's not Pastel as a whole, it's not my system as a whole, so it has to be company or user specific. So that's how you can, is it company, is it Pastel, is it user, is it company? So it's how you work it out. If it's happening only in the company, the next thing that you try is you try to log in as a different user and see if the issue happens. So you can go to someone else and say, hey, I know that you also do bank manager. Can you check if you're having an issue on bank manager on company B? That user will log in. If they can log in and they are fine on that company, the chances are it's user specific. You can then go to your machine or take them with you to your machine and go, I'm sorry to do this to you, but can you log in with your user on my machine? Because I just want to totally rule out that it's my Pastel and it's my machine. And if they can process on your machine on their user, guys, that's user specific. That means that your user has corrupted. Just create another user, you should be fine. Change your user to do not use, or if you're not the supervisor, go to the supervisor and say, please, can you create me a new user and change my user to do not use, because I can't update invoices all of a sudden. So guys, that's something to look at. In that instance, it could be that your batch is corrupted, so it's a bad example. But if you can't update your cashbook batch and the other user can jump to your cashbook batch and update it for you, then your user has the problem. So with batches, don't just tell the user, oh, go to your batch and update. With batches, it could actually be a batch issue. So make sure they jump to your batch to update. But if it's something like running a report and they can run the report and you can't, it could be user specific. There are times where you can also, if it is user specific, instead of just creating another user, thank you for the person who mentioned that, I'm so sorry. You don't always need to create new user, guys. It could just be that the defaults or the defaults and settings have corrupted, and you can reset that your specific users, resets and defaults and settings. So you would do this first before creating a new user. If another user can update your batch or can, you can't process in the cash book, but they can process in the cash book. Or you know, that type of thing, or they can run a specific report that you can't, you would come and reset your defaults and settings. Just remember, with resetting your defaults and settings, your reference numbers get reset and you have to re-put those reference numbers there. If that doesn't work, it probably means the user is corrupt and you can create another user. Guys, if it is company specific, so if you can't do it, another user can't do it, they can't update your batch, you can't update your batch, it's a runtime error 9, for example, you've done all the steps, but in the demo you're not getting it, that is where you get hold of us. That is how you know it's company, and you go, hi support, not hi Joanne, please don't hi me, I'm not the whole of support, but hi support, I'm getting a runtime error 9 on my specific company. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. Please, can you help? Guys, the chances are we're going to be like, hi, please, can you send us a copy of your data? Alternatively, you can go, I've done everything. I'd like to send you a copy of my data. Please send me the link to upload, and we can do that. That is where we will get data in, and we'll go, okay, you've done everything. I'm not even sure what's happening. This needs to be looked at. You can then hopefully continue to process all your other work, but that batch, and we can look into it, and hopefully in a couple of hours or 24 hours, you know, we'll be able to tell you, hey, this is the solution. So that is where you know it's company specific. You've tried another company, you've tried another user, you're all getting the same issues, and you're getting the same issues on another machine. You've ruled out everything but company. Let us know. Guys, if it's happening on all of the companies, so, okay, I can't open my bank manager on the demo either, that is where you need to go to a different machine, and hopefully you're a multi-user, you're not a single user, and you can say, hey, do you have a problem with bank manager? Chances are they're not going to, and the reason I use bank manager is it needs to be a universal thing. It can't just be, hey, do you have problems with this batch? It needs to be something that you're specifically trying to do, like run a Sage Intelligence report, and it's happening on all of your companies where you're having an issue running your Sage Intelligence reports, or you're having an issue running the tax reports. That basically, that runtime error 72 is a system issue, guys. The file's corrupted. It doesn't matter which company you go into. Your tax reports are either going to give you a runtime error 372, or they're going to print incorrectly because the file on your Windows is corrupt, or the file that Pastel installs as a Windows file is corrupt. So that is a system error or a Pastel error. If you do everything and it's not working, but another user or another PC can do it, that tells you that it's either Pastel or it's Windows. In that instance, guys, again, you can try to uninstall and reinstall Pastel, uninstall and reinstall Pervasive, but if the error is continuing, chances are we need to log in, and we are going to need to look and possibly say, hey, this is actually Windows. Guys, we try not to do that because it's not cool to have to go, hey, we can't help you. It's Windows. Please format Windows. But there are times where, unfortunately, that is the solution. Just because Pastel is giving you the issue and you're like, but I can work in Word and stuff, does not mean that Windows doesn't have a problem. Your Windows registry holds all of your programs, and something may have happened to your Windows registry. Pastel is a live data set. So Pastel is something that you use all the time. Word you use here and there, and it is not as resource intensive. So on occasion, sadly, the solution may be you need to format Windows and reload, and this should work. But guys, that'll normally be the last option we give you. And that often comes up when you can't email. And guys, we've got a long document on all of the solutions with email. And guys, if none of those options work, then yeah, Windows is broken or Office is broken. There is nothing further we can do to help you. That is unfortunately one of those situations. We have taken every solution on emailing that we have that works, and if none of that stuff works, then Outlook is either very corrupted, Microsoft Office is very corrupted, or Windows itself is broken. And then that is unfortunately the solution. So guys, I don't know if those steps help, if it's helpful. Does anyone need me to go over them again? How to know if it's Pastel's, like you won't know if it's Pastel itself or Windows. That's kind of where we do need to get involved. So if someone's like, how do you know whether it's one or the other? I can't tell you. That's where, you know, support would log in, have a look, and based on speaking to me or one of the other product specialists, there are 3 of us in 50, we would then go, okay, we've tried everything. This is Windows. But is it clear how you know if it's computer Pastel or company user? And do you feel comfortable in being able to troubleshoot that? And did you find the other solutions helpful? Is there something you want me to go over in more detail? With regards to the reset, so guys, remember I said that if it's user, before you just create a new user, and again, thank you to the person who brought that up, remember that if you reset defaults and settings, if you do it from within Pastel in that user, it only does it for that user. If you go into your company, so again, guys, the old way of doing this, and I'm assuming the person asking is actually a BP, because I see you in all of my sessions and you are so welcome, and thank you so much for attending all of them. I'm assuming you're a BP, which stands for business partner to those of you who don't know. But guys, basically the old way of doing this is you would look for ACCNTRL, which is your control, and you would look for default, but you would delete all of them, and that would reset it for everyone. If you do it within the system, it only does it for that user, yes. Then you don't have to reset up everyone because it is a nightmare. Okay, so guys, I do see that there are a couple of questions. Please let me know if you're happy with what I've gone through, or if you need me to, you know, was something unclear. Guys, remember, I don't know if I've been unclear unless you tell me. And the last thing I want to do is be unclear or give you like a half solution. So if there's something that you're like, Joe, I did not understand that at all, let me know. I will try to find a different way to explain it, or I'll go over it in more detail. But guys, hopefully this touching of this is how you can do certain things helps. And hopefully having access to that infographic will help. Okay, sound disappeared. Sorry. Guys, I'm so sorry. I don't know if I'm having issues on my side because a lot of people said the sound kept coming and going. My apologies, guys. Obviously, unfortunately, I can't reset my router in the middle of these. So if it is a routing issue, I'm so sorry, but it was recorded. It is recorded, and you will receive those. You will receive the recording. Guys, again, just as a closing while I wait for any questions, you will receive an email tomorrow as long as you put in your correct email. So sometimes people haven't gotten it, but their email address was wrong. You should receive your certificate as well as the recording, and that link will be in that email. Please, guys, I'm begging you, please fill in that survey. Let us know what you want to see. Guys, another question that I've been asking people, but it's not on the survey, is some people have mentioned that they would really like to see me before and after the actual session. So when I'm not sharing my screen, they would just like to kind of see what I look like and know that I'm here. Some people have said they'd like my camera on all the time. Is that something that you guys would want me to do? I'm going to be very honest. I am incredibly camera shy, but I will do it if it would make you feel more engaged and it would make you feel more comfortable. I do not mind. Unfortunately, I can't do it with these ones because I disabled the camera function. But when we're setting up 2022, I will do it if it's something that you would prefer. As well, guys, this is also the time where you can say whether 10 o'clock works for you or whether you would prefer a different time. So please let me know. We've tried various different times. I used to run these sessions at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, but a lot of people said that they actually weren't paying attention because it is a Friday afternoon and they kind of just want to get into the weekend vibe, which I totally understood. So a lot of people did want morning sessions, and we thought Wednesday is a pretty nice day to do it on. But guys, you can, for additional suggestions, say, actually, I would prefer 8 o'clock on a Monday, or whatever works for you. Okay, so guys, there's a question with regards to, can I stay on 1922? Honestly, no, you can't. And the reason for that, and guys, I hope that this makes sense. I've tried to explain it. Let me know if I'm doing a horrible job of explaining this. The 1934 update is to update the digital signature of the program. So it basically tells Windows that Pastel is valid. A lot of the older versions, digital signatures have expired. And the reason that they've expired is because they're older versions. Guys, we're not going to update the digital signing signatures on older versions. Everyone should be on the latest version. We have no plans on creating a new version. No future plans of it. Because again, it's that having to install, having a new folder, having to move everything. My business partners will understand the stress of having to do that for a 30 user. It is not pleasant. It is a lot of stress. So guys, I understand that. So that's why Sage 50 Cloud, the name came about, because they were like, hey, why don't we just have a name and then we just keep improving the product instead of releasing a new version all the time. So the reason that you've never had to install an update that basically updates and renews the digit signing certificate is that reason, is because we've always released new versions before the digit signing certificate has expired. We have not released a new version in a number of years, and so we have to tell Windows that this is a valid application. No one wants to use software that's going, well, this isn't valid, because Windows will prevent you from installing it or using it. So unfortunately, while I understand that you don't actually like updates, this is a critical update, guys. You need to install 1934 because and it's the only thing that's changed in 1934. A number of people have said, can I have the history of changes? Guys, it is there, but we changed nothing else. Nothing in the system changed. I did have a business partner advise that apparently the system slowed down, but we are looking into that because I'm assuming that there's another reason for it, because nothing changed. 1933, it's 1933 with a new signature. Unfortunately, it would be a bit of an update for you because you are 1922, but that is why it's critical, guys. If the digit signing certificate, and it only expires next year, January, I think it is January or Feb, I stand corrected, I can't remember, but you do need to at least have 1934 on your system, or Windows is going to prevent you from opening your Pastel and from working in it. I hope that helps. Please let me know if I did a rubbish job of explaining that. I'm not sure that I understand. Nothing happens to them if they don't update by the 1st of October. Unless, sorry guys, just a question was, what happens to the customers who haven't updated by 1 October? Unless I'm wrong and it's only valid until 1 October, in which case Pastel probably will become unusable. It's going to complain about the digit certificate. That is why it's compulsory. It's not an optional build, guys. It's a compulsory build. We've never forced you to upgrade before, but it is a compulsory build. You won't be able to work. That's what will happen. Windows will complain and nag and whine I honestly thought it was January, February. I will need to recheck that. Guys, I can't remember until when it was valid. I must be honest. I thought that you actually did have until next year, until 2022, but I stand corrected. It could be that you actually only have until Friday. Okay, guys, hopefully I've answered all of your questions. I don't see any other questions coming through. Again, my apologies for the sound cutting out in that. I will obviously reset my router and maybe I will do a reset before the next one as well that I'm running. Guys, I've got one more for those of you that are interested. I'm running one more Sage 50 Cloud versus Sage Business Cloud accounting. But to those of you that attend religiously, guys, it is the same one. So I'm going to go over the same stuff. If you want to come to see what other questions are asked, because you get something out of the questions and me answering certain things about that, you are welcome. You are always welcome in all of my sessions. I appreciate the fact that you attend them and I appreciate you. But guys, just so you know, it is the same webinar. So I'm running one more of those. If you're interested, go look on Sage City. The link should be there if you want to know the difference between the two. Otherwise, guys, if no one else has any questions, I hope that you have a fantastic day further. And we hope to see you at our status webinar, which should be run in October. So we'll look forward to that, guys. Fill in the survey. Let us know what you want. Give us that feedback. Otherwise, have a fantastic day further, guys. Thanks so much.